5 o'clock. The meeting is called to order. Will you please call the roll?
Jesus Gonzalez.
Present.
Margaret Cortese. Present. Juanita Herrera. Present. Autumn Kelly.
Present.
Christine Morla.
Here.
Cesar Perez.
Present.
Javier Gomez. Absent. And Deborah DeVries has excused absence.
Okay, so we have a quorum?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Will Commissioner Pettis lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Under public comments, we have a Mr. Patrick Mullen who wishes to speak about the Elite Theater. Mr. Mullen?
Commissioner Gonzalez and Commissioners, my name is Patrick Mullen. I'm a resident of Oxnard as well as Planning Commissioner. I'm here today to speak to you regarding the Elite Theater. We're about to embark on our 23rd year here in Oxnard with our theater, with our one-act plays starting this Friday. And of course, I wanted to thank all of you for volunteering what you're doing, because the arts are very important to our community. One of the things I was going to mention was that I've gotten agendas since the very first meeting, but I've just been told that we now will have the actual minutes, so I can find out what else is happening in our arts community throughout. But I just wanted to let you know that it's really important that the subsidies or the grants that have been given to us by the City of Oxnard, and I believe now coming through the Commission, as many of you know, being in the arts field, it's a very tough field for getting donations and sponsorships and so forth. So again, I just wanted to again let you know who we were, and that we're out there to serve you and the patrons and the community members to enhance the theater arts, and I just appreciate everything that you're doing. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mullen. We very much appreciate the work that you've been doing, you and the Elite Theater. My wife and I have gone to some of your productions, and we've enjoyed
Yeah, we're all volunteers, right?
Right, right.
So I'm retired, but I'm not retired anymore.
But you're working harder for free.
Still working for free. That's right. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll take a quick look at the minutes. We have to be gone by 8 o'clock because SC and UCLA are on basketball tonight.
I'd love to be gone by 6:30, if not earlier.
Sorry about that.
I still have my work more time.
Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Cortese. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Morla. Is there any discussion? All in favor of approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Boy, it was a busy meeting that last month. We'll come on down to old business, and starting with Michelle Cantor on the discussion of the Cultural Arts Foundation creation.
Well, have I turned my microphone on? Is it that way? Well, at some point, I think I'm going to turn some of my conversation over to Commissioner Hirata, because we had quite a conversation about the establishment of the 501c3, and as she has mentioned in the strategic plan notes that are attached to your minutes. This is still on the agenda to move forward to the City Council, but it bears and is worthy of dialogue and conversation today among you, the commissioners, about the pros and cons of moving forward on the foundation. This was something that Commissioner DeVries had mentioned last time, too. The options are having a foundation through the city for the cultural arts, having a foundation independently of the city, where your solicitation for funds and your grant writing operate independently of Oxnard. And then the third, which the city manager has, I believe, spoken of, is his concept, which he was familiar with from Modesto, where he came from, where there was an overarching foundation for the entire city, which I believe he hopes to do here in Oxnard, which can fundraise for all needs in the city. So it would encompass the arts, the library, parks, and so forth. So that's something that's under consideration by the city, as I think you're aware.
Now, when you said if we move forward, what does move forward mean?
Meaning how you want to, what you want to do about having a 501c3. What your steps are. Does that answer your question?
No.
I just outlined what your options might be.
Okay, in other words, we need to decide whether we would proceed with 1, 2, or 3.
Right.
I see. Okay.
Is it our decision to decide on that? That's what I missed.
Well, it's up for discussion, and then will be brought to the city council. If one of the option that you choose is to form a 501c3 independently of the city, that won't have to be brought to the council. Based on Dr. Gonzalez's letter to the city manager, he understood that you did want to move forward with a foundation. But there's still that other option of being part of an overarching 501c3 that he's got under consideration for the city. Does that make sense? Commissioner Hirata, do you want to?
It makes sense, but I'm thinking if we formed one of these other types and then suddenly we would have to be under the city with the overarching 501c3 of which we know nothing of. You know what I'm saying? We don't know how that would operate. So it's like, and when would it occur, and who would monitor it, everything. We have no idea of what that would be.
Well, that would be more under the city's auspices.
Right.
Commissioner Ortesa.
We definitely have to wait and see where the city is going to go. But a question that occurs to me is, does it give a foundation greater credibility in approaching, say, Irvine or Ford or any of these, if it is linked to the city or independent of the city? I don't know the answer to that question, but I think we need to put that into our consideration, which it seems to me that if we're going to go with option number one, which is, oh, well, all right, let's just do our own, are we diminishing our strength for getting the attention of the big guys?
This is exactly what you have to consider.
Right. And I don't know who can answer that question for me. Carlos, Cesar, you've had experience, haven't you, with foundations through the museum, right?
But I wasn't on the founding committee at the time. Yeah, I came on board afterward.
But the Carnegie is part of the city or independent of the city, the Carnegie Foundation?
The foundation, the Cornerstones, is independent of the city.
And has the Cornerstones had good success in raising money from foundation grants?
The Cornerstones has the ability to fundraise, absolutely, independently.
What's their track record? Do you know?
Well, it could be better. We would like it to be better, but...
Let me clarify that. Is your Cornerstone separate from the city?
Yes.
It is separate, okay.
And so is the libraries, as I understand. So is the libraries, as I understand it.
The Friends of the Library.
The Friends of the Library.
It is separate. Yes, it's separate.
And if I might add to just furthering this conversation, I've spoken with several different people from other cities to find out how they run their arts commissions. Particularly, I talked to the city of Santa Monica. The woman named Jessica Cusick is a very active in the arts world and is their director of their cultural affairs. And she indicated that having the foundation is not a universal panacea for money. Just because you have a foundation doesn't mean that the funds are just going to be flowing in automatically. She, at one time, their commission and their foundation were the same people. The commission equaled the foundation. But they have recently changed that, where 3 of their foundation board are from the commission, and the other 6 are outside members of the community. And she said that that's the way they're going to try it now, as of a few months ago. She said that having a global umbrella foundation, as our city manager has talked about, does help consolidate resources. She also felt that, and this is something Commissioner Hirata and I talked about, she also felt that being such a young commission, having been in existence not quite a year yet, she talked about getting your feet more firmly planted. That was her phrasing. In terms of having a business plan, some of the things that Commissioner Hirata mentions in her notes, figuring out who the board members would be, figuring out who the grant writers would be, figuring out how the taxes and all the other fiscal matters of the foundation would be handled. And Commissioner Cortese made a very good point that's up for discussion by you. If you're under the auspices of the city, does that give you more of a signature, so to speak, when you're seeking funds? Or, if you're independent, do you have more autonomy and more ability to do things as you choose?
So, Commissioner Cortese, to answer your question, I think what you were trying to get from me we do have absolute freedom at the museum. But I can't answer your question in terms of would it be better if we were under the city, because that's not the sample.
Is the city manager looking into subsuming the 501s that currently exist, that with the library and that with Carnegie, under the city's umbrella, as they do in Fresno or wherever it is that... Modesto.
I can't answer that definitively. It's something I think that's been discussed, but I haven't been, privy to the discussion. But I know that it's something that he's wanting to look into.
What is the benefit to the city?
It isn't.
I mean, what is it just because, I don't know. I don't know what to ask.
Probably for fiscal and management purposes,
Got it.
I would assume, and for, having management, I would think. Having a management of how all of it is received.
I think the reason that the city manager kind of tried to put a stop to us proceeding was because there are some organizations that are city funded, they have a nonprofit, and those weren't run quite independently of each other. They commingled the funds, which makes a great mess, and I think he wants to prevent that, actually. I think he would probably like to see us be independent so that we couldn't ask for any money from the city, that we would have to be responsible for what we advocate.
Commissioner Gomez?
My concern was what autonomy would our commission have, granted, if we were given that opportunity to be independent of the city, or does it behoove us to have the city handle the financials, and for us just to and have a category that strictly that's the Arts Commission's funds, and however way we can fundraise, whether it's through grant writing or whether it's to soliciting, donors from different different bodies of the country, and for us not to worry about the budgetary administrative processes that maybe the city handles, and for us just to worry about, well, let's raise this money. We have this grant up here. There are, like, whether it's the National Endowment of the Arts, and they're giving away $25,000 to maybe $200,000, and we can apply for that grant, Do we have that autonomy? Will we have that, or is that? Are we going to be more incumbent to the city and following whatever restrictions and rules and regulations that they have in fundraising?
It isn't? Well, I think what's probably, I think the city doesn't want to have to spend any more money for us. I mean, we basically don't have much, our fiscal situation now is not good in the city. So for them to manage everything, I don't think they really want to do that unless it's that umbrella organization. I think that we have to be appreciative of the situation we're in now, that the city funds those grants. I mean, what if we decide to make a 501(c) and they suddenly say, okay, you're not getting this money anymore, we need this for something else? Could they do that?
Well,
they can't.
Following your logic, if the city doesn't want to worry about that, I think it will be to our benefit to have the city take care of all of that, and for us to have our section in that budget that he's managing all the 501s together, and all we have to worry about is, we raised $100,000. That's our categorical money. In that respect, whether we have that money or not, if the city doesn't want to spend any money, that means that they want us to handle all the administrative work and all the processes of fundraising, and whatever we raise, it's ours. Even regardless, I think it's just letting somebody else manage the process versus you handling all your all whatever is our commission work that we have to worry about, and then when somebody finds out, hey, you know, the Ventura County Community Foundation is holding a whole series of fundraising workshops, and let's go meet the funders, you know, the donors, and then we have that autonomy to go over there and investigate and find out who is making funds available, and, you know, accessing those resources that can benefit our commission.
Commissioner Cortese?
I just wanted to say, whichever route we go, we need to protect the money that is
Yes.
by ordinance, or whatever the right word is, dedicated to the arts fund from the development
Yes.
fees, that we don't want to lose.
Right, that's what I'm worried about, Margaret. Exactly that, because that's quite a bit of money, and for us to raise that money, it would be difficult.
It's
$150,000?
Right. I don't think that would be in jeopardy. That's
don't?
earmarked from developers' fees for the arts.
And the council, the manager, city manager can't change that?
Now, without going to council for a vote to change it, it would, I mean, they would have to legislate it. We don't
But
want
that may occur, because if they feel that they need that money for something else, I mean, they could very well legislate that.
It was established by ordinance,
Okay.
the developers' fees, and the developers have paid it according to that ordinance. They couldn't come and take the money and say, now we have to do something else, but it related to your question, by ordinance, they could say, now we are going to stop.
Yes,
collecting the
that's my
funds for future
fear.
purposes.
Honestly, that is a fear, because that's quite a bit of money, and we've benefited from that. I mean, our arts organizations and individuals have benefited for that, and I think it would be very difficult for us to raise that amount of money in case that was in jeopardy.
Well, you know, if we're a 501c3, it wouldn't be in jeopardy. We wouldn't be in jeopardy.
No.
Or even if we weren't in 501c3, you know, that money that has been set aside, that belongs to the commission. you know.
Okay.
So it's the manager.
Okay, my biggest concern about a 501c forming forming it, not just forming it, but actually having one, is the revenues, because with like the Carnegie Art Museum, Cornerstones, they have kind of like, say, passive income through membership and through other fundraising devices. It's always coming in. The Friends of the Library, a lot of that's passive too, because a lot of money comes in through donated books that are resold. That money is tax-free. We don't have to declare that. So that's relatively passive. I mean, there's volunteers who do all the work, but that money comes in, and that's the bulk of the money that we give to the library.
Well, I think that would be our task.
Yes,
is
what
to
would we do?
establish- is
Yeah,
to
well-
establish our friends of the commission of the arts community.
But what benefit would people have? See, the benefit people have there is that, you know, they get a discount, or, you know, but how would we do that here? Where would they get a discount? What would be, we have to offer people something.
No, I think we have a lot to offer. One is the artist works that can be exhibited or whatever, you know what I mean? But I think that we have to really be creative as towards where that money is going to come from. And I think we just have to develop our task. We're just a new organization, the new commission, and I think our task is to look into that, is how can we develop a good friends of the arts in our community and get those people, and what the benefit to them if the city is taking over the 501c3, they're getting the benefit of the tax write-off. It's still a tax write-off. But, you know, if we're the ones that are the 501, they get the tax write-offs through us versus the city. So, you know, wherever the 501c3 is located, I'd rather just let the city handle that, and let's not worry about the administrative process. All we have to say is, here's the money, save our money when we need it. If we have some friends that want to donate, they donate it directly to our section. You know?
What we don't know if the city is willing to do that. They may not want that, because it's more work for them to do that. I mean, who would do that work?
If the business manager has said that he wants to do one group or one organization to be the 501c3 to have everything into control, I thought that was a no-brainer. That let him do that.
He hasn't done it yet, though. I mean, it's just...
Commissioner Pettis?
Yeah, I believe this is definitely a worthwhile discussion, but it's all speculation, right, until we see some concrete,
Right.
what's the structure of what's been proposed here.
So basically, you've laid out 3 separate scenarios. And I think part of the thing is that we don't know which direction the city will allow us to put forth. The first scenario you had said is that we form a 501c3 as part of the city, but separate from anything else, the CAC. Secondly, that we do something totally independent. And then thirdly, that we look at this umbrella, or junta, let's call it, of the city manager, in which our funds and other funds might be pooled with some way of safeguarding funds received specifically for cultural arts. And then, as Commissioner Gomez is saying, and Commissioner Pettis, it's almost fruitless for us to go any further until we know what the city commissioner will allow us to do. Is that fair?
Well, a couple of things. I think after the letter that you wrote and the vote of acclaim for what you wrote from city council members Ramirez and Padilla, they were in favor of the 501c3 specifically for the arts that was managed through the city.
Right. Number one.
That's number one. But scenario 3, where there's an umbrella 501c3, may come to pass at some point. So there's a couple of things that I might want to suggest or consider, and I could probably do it on my own, but I'd probably welcome partnership with one of you commissioners. There's Jerry Yoshitomi, who's a resident of Oxnard, who's very, very familiar with the arts world, and particularly the nonprofit arts world. And we can have a conversation with him about what he thinks of those 3 scenarios. He's a well-known, well-regarded nationally expert on arts and the nonprofit sector. And there's also a group that's originally from Los Angeles, but now has a satellite here, I think at the Ventura County Community Association. It's called Community Partners. And they are counselors to nonprofits. I haven't spoken with them to see if they counsel, yet to be nonprofits. But judging from their website, there might be a very well-informed staff person there who might have some further input into the whole concept.
Okay, let's do this. Let's defer any further consideration on this issue, and I will contact you and be with you to meet Mr. Yoshitomi. All right, I'll go ahead with you on that.
That sounds good.
Okay, we'll
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Can I make a little suggestion?
Yes, sir.
To add on to that? When you meet with him, I think that it will be extremely prudent for us to look at the Ventura Community Foundation's workshops that they do, and they have a whole series. I participated in their workshops in board development, fundraising, grant writing, and in a whole slew of things. And I think that might be a cornerstone to us, and maybe several of us, maybe going to some of the training sessions,
great.
And we might find that out.
Unfortunately, though, Commissioner Gomez, that group, that Center for Nonprofit Management at the Community Foundation, has folded, at least for the time being. I don't know how many of you were aware of that.
Yes.
It's folded due to their own, I think, budgetary constraints.
Yes.
So right now, they're not in the business of offering those kinds of workshops. I had been to several of them too. They might try to get themselves back into existence, but right now they no longer exist.
Yeah,
All
that's
right, thank you.
unfortunate for us, really it is.
We'll move on to old business item number 2, utility box
Well, excuse me,
program.
one last
So-
question on that item, just for clarification. We do have the, on the city council agenda for February 9th, the option of doing the city-related 501c. Should we have that postponed 1 month to let these conversations occur?
I think that might be appropriate,
Okay, we
please.
will
Thank
do
you.
that then.
All right, so on to the ODID, ODID.
Hello again. Did not actually, so I'm sorry about that. I'll just riff off of that. I'll keep my comments brief. Basically, I don't have a whole lot to report other than that we've been working with the artists. We have 2 artists on board for this project initially. And we have the location spec'd out. We have all the details of how to prep the boxes and get them all ready. But unfortunately, I didn't factor in the holidays and the weather, the inclement weather, in my original timeline. So we've delayed the project a little bit, but the good news is we're still moving forward. I just received today some rendering a comp on one of the boxes that's going to go on the corner of, it's the southwest corner of 4th and 4th Street and Oxnard Boulevard, so very high visibility spot right across from the transit center, and the artist is doing a depiction, kind of a Banksy type treatment on, but a historical take on the Oxnard brothers. So that's one of the executions. The other one, member Morla is going to be providing us with another art installation over at 5th and A Street. So we're just we're looking forward to taking advantage of like a break in the rain and the El Nino effect, and we'll get these done here very soon.
I sent a letter to the city attorney asking if it would be possible to have some funds released to us from the development fees so that we could perhaps have something available for you, and I've not received any response.
No.
Yes, Michelle?
Excuse me, April, if you don't mind me interrupting.
no.
Yes, I got a response about that. Once again, the city attorney said that the commission would make a recommendation to the city council to approve an appropriation for the project. And if that's what you wanted to do, you know, I can work on doing that. It says, Attorney Fisher says that the Senior Services Commission does something similar where they say they'd like funds going to particular senior services agencies.
Well, I wish he'd answered to me, because that's not what I wrote. I wrote that I wanted to know the possibility of having a $5,000 amount allocated to us that we might distribute as we saw fit without having to go back to city council each and every time.
It doesn't seem, Commissioner, like that's possible. He says delegating spending authority directly to a CAG, that's a citizen advisory group, raises legal issues regarding potential misuse of public funds.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, it should, the CAG should make a recommendation to the council to approve an appropriation for a proposed project.
Commissioner Gomez.
Maybe in addition, we should look at what the graffiti task force funds that they have, because I know that they get all this paint and they use it just to whitewash things. Whether some of that money that is used for them, it can go to us. Go towards this program as well. So another option of using some of the funds or some of the materials that is given to the graffiti task force.
That's a possibility then for you, Mr. Magana, to pursue that. Commissioner Hirata.
I have a question. Did you already obtain the material, the paints and everything? Or
Yeah,
do you still?
yeah.
So,
We've purchased this.
so for how many boxes could that be?
I don't know the coverage
Oh,
on
you
that, but we've only have enough funds right now on this initial.
For two?
For two, yeah.
Have you sought sponsorships?
I'm in the process right now, too, of actually securing a sponsorship with one of our local banks,
So how-
CRA money.
No, but for like if,
For $2,500 is what I'm looking for. That's the maximum that they're.
and that would cover how many, what is it called, what do you?
Well,
get
right now,
artists per box?
we're looking at about $750 per box. I mean, that's including the artist stipend and then the materials and the prep work and all.
Okay.
So the commission had discussed 2 months ago about supporting ODID, and at that time, there was an implication that the support would be in some sort of dollar amount, and so that whatever dollar amount that we gave would perhaps make another box or things of that sort. So would it be appropriate, Dan, for me to entertain a motion to give some money out of this money that's in the...
What you would be doing is, yes, and then the second piece of that would be directing staff to prepare a staff report to make that request to the City Council.
Okay. Commissioner Cortez, did you have make a comment?
Well, I think at this point in time, perhaps we could ask the city council to allow us to have $3,000, which would help paint 4 more boxes. And in the time that it takes to move through the city council vote, et cetera, and the money to be moved to a piggy bank where we could take it out, by then you would have at least 2 or 3 of these up, and we could, change our minds if they're ugly. And yes.
Excuse me, is your microphone on?
No, it's not because of I turned it off. Okay, I move that we send a request.
May I interrupt you for a moment? At the price level of $750, 3 boxes would be $2,250.
She said 4.
I said 4 boxes,
Oh,
3,000.
excuse me.
Yeah. It can be amended. I move that we request City Council to approve the movement of $3,000 to our ability to disperse it to the ODID program of box beautification in the downtown area.
Okay, it has been moved by Commissioner Cortese and seconded by Commissioner Gomez that $3,000 be allocated to ODID for the box beautification in the downtown of the city. Is that fairly...
No, to us to provide to ODID.
For us to provide. Is that pretty clear?
Yes.
All right. Any further discussion?
Can we suggest to Mr. Magana that if we can get the graffiti task force, they can do all the prep work of each of those boxes, so some of the materials won't be wasted, where they already have all that stuff, but they can prep it in accordance to the needs of the artists.
That's great.
I think that's an excellent idea, Commissioner Gomez.
That's good. Any other comments?
So who would take the action item on that suggestion, which I think is a great one?
Well, that's going directly to Mr. Magana. We don't need to vote on that.
Just making sure.
Okay. If there is no further discussion, the chair calls the question. All those in favor of supporting ODID, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, so staff will please prepare a letter or whatever is required to send to the city.
It will be agendized for City Council.
And when would that go to the city
Well, I'll
council?
check the calendar tomorrow and get back to you.
Thank you, please. Mr. Magana?
Thank you very much. That's amazing. I do think you're going to find a lot of support throughout the community for this. And we have, just parenthetically, I wanted to mention that at the end of this month that they're conducting a downtown charrette, which is going to be a design forum, workshop for inviting all the community to give their input in terms of things that they would like to see happen in the downtown to revitalize the downtown. So,
And when is that and where?
well, there's flyers up in the lobby right now,
Oh,
but it begins. Yeah, this is hot off the presses. January 29th begins the process, and it's going to be a 5-day process with the Congress for New Urbanism, a nonprofit group of urban planning specialists that will be coming into the city and working on this project.
And where will it be?
At Social Security building, actually at the former Social Security building adjacent to Plaza Park.
It starts the time?
It's 5:30 p.m. on Friday, January 29th is the kickoff.
So, Abel, are you getting in touch with the merchants downtown to let them know about that? So you're informing all of them?
Yeah, we have a weekly e-bulletin that goes out to members, and then now that we have some flyers, we'll be handing those out.
But the calendar is not on there, is it? The calendar isn't finished yet?
The calendar?
The calendar for the days.
Oh, no, it is now.
It is?
These are, yeah. Now
Do
it's
you
all,
have enough bulletins that you could hand to us, maybe?
I'll just grab some from over here. They're in the lobby. Yeah.
Would you?
Sure. Yeah. No, we're excited about this, and thank you very much for your support. And I'll be working with Michelle to help put together the staff report for the recommendation.
Well, I think you should note that this is real enthusiastic support. I mean, we've since you came to us 3 months ago, I guess, people are very supportive. And so I think we also want to look into this other series of meetings you're going to have. Thank you very much.
We'll accelerate it, and we'll take advantage of this window of time to get the boxes done. Initial ones.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
The box is done before they come to show some art because they're interested to see things like that.
All right.
Sorry.
Okay. Thank you. We'll move on now to F, new business. I have a couple of items that I'd like to mention. Commissioner,
well, currently, we have nothing under new business.
Oh, well,
What we could do is when we get down to, for future agenda items, we can address these for a future agenda item. We have no new business to discuss.
well, this wasn't business, but I suppose. All right.
Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Anyway, so we'll go down to reports. The RFP Subcommittee Progress Report. We've got a dynamite report here. We've had 2 drafts that we've discussed at some length already. I propose that we look on this 3rd discussion, if we can start at the part that wasn't evolved nor discussed last time. And that
If I may,
yes, please.
real quickly, because I'm aware of the time.
Yes.
The committee met 1.5 times, or I can't remember. It was difficult this last period of time between illness and Christmas. But we focused, there are going to be 3 sections to this. There's going to be the general instructions, which are not here, and then the RFP for organizations, operating funds, grants, and the RFP for individual artist project grants. Okay, and so in the package today, as of midnight last night, we have a first draft of the last 2 sections, the operating funds and the project funds grants. What I'd like to ask is if this is legal. I don't want to take comments today because we could be here for hours, and I don't want to be here for hours. But is it allowed for the commissioners to take these, I don't know, 20-something pages home, read them through, and communicate to the committee via email or handwritten or whatever their input on these 2 sections of the RFP? And the committee would meet hopefully once or twice between now and next month and incorporate or discuss or mull over the input that was received last month, which is part of the minutes, for the general instructions, and the input that you would send us for the project grant chunk and the operating funds chunk. And these three documents, we would meet, take all your input, and come up with a draft that we would bring back hopefully next month as, okay, here it is, play with it, you know, scuttle it, change it, vote on it, and that's it. We would like you to send us your email comments within the next 10 days, which would allow us then, today's the 13th, after the 23rd, Commissioner Morla and Commissioner Gomez and I will set up our little ad hoc meeting and take your input and try to crystallize or create a final draft from our committee that would go to the whole commission, and then the whole commission can do with it what you decide.
What we would do is that we would vote to accept it, and then after that vote, assuming it passes, it then goes on to staff. Then the city staff then reviews it, and the city attorney then reviews it. And then after their input, it comes back to us to finalize, to do a final acceptance. So in view of that, we're looking at something that may be 2 or 3 months down the road. And what is that going to do, assuming we might have some development funds to give out for the coming year?
In the past, there's always, the last 2 cycles, there has always been a break of some months between the end of a cycle and the beginning of the next one.
Okay.
So we're used to that as artists out in the community.
So timeline, we're looking fine.
Well, timeline, you know, I'm sure that Elite Theater, and I know that those, you know, Inlakatch and the rest of us that submit would love for you to have it ready tomorrow. But we've learned to live with that gap, and it's just the realities. So in order, I mean, we could, the committee could work on this for 3 more months.
Right.
And
yes.
we are anxious to get it to you.
Okay,
So-
I don't think there's any problem with what Commissioner Cortese is suggesting. In other words, we take it individually, we review it, send comments to the commissioner, because it's not really a violation of any Brown Act. We're not meeting in secret in 2s or 3s. Doesn't that sound rational?
Well, and I'm leaning towards the fact that it's going to be a one-way communication,
Right.
not a
we don't-
conversation.
Right.
So I'm leaning towards agreeing with you, but I will confirm that tomorrow.
Okay.
Just to be on the safe side.
And then can you get your comments back to us saying, yes, we can go ahead and do this
That
privately?
will be my intent to get in touch with you
Okay,
tomorrow.
thank you. Now, before we leave this, are there any other comments to be made to the 3 commissioners on?
I'd just like to
Yes.
share that it's been a really wonderful experience working with the two ladies, and it's been very eye-opening to see all the nooks and pieces, putting it all together and making that we have a very workable proposal for the community to be able to clearly see what is on paper and how transparent it is for them to fill out their applications and submit it, and for the review process. You know, so it's been really a great experience for me, and it's been wonderful working with these ladies, even though we've been sick here and there and missing, but it's been a tremendous undertaking.
No, it's dynamite. It's just been absolutely remarkable, the work that's been done. Yes, Commissioner?
I have a question of staff. In asking for a one-way communication from commission members rather than meeting for 10 days or 10 hours, we can only accept input from commission members. Is that correct? The forum was, I mean, in other words, if one of the people in the audience wants to send us comments. Can we accept those, or do we can accept comments from anybody?
Yes.
The public and the commission
Yes,
members?
the Brown Act is more related towards open and transparent conversation and communication between the commissioners.
Okay, and we should save...
Subcommittee, as you've had public hearings and such, and have received comments in that way.
Okay, we should save all the comments that are received?
Yes, please.
And give them to you
Yes.
as documentation?
Yes.
Do you want, okay, and I'll talk to you later how you get it, okay?
Okay.
Okay, and for the members of the public out there, I would point out that the commissioners that Commissioner Gomez referred to are the chair of this subcommittee, Commissioner Cortese. Commissioner Gomez was on that committee, and Commissioner Morla was also on that subcommittee. So they've done an excellent job, just a superb job, very, very long and very difficult.
And one more quick, and the comments can also be sent to staff to forward them to us. Is that okay? If, for instance, people in the audience don't have the email of one of the three of us, they can send it to you and you can send it to us?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move on to reports of Strategic Plan Committee, and I'm very, very pleased with this draft that we have here. And on that committee, we've had Dr. Deborah DeVries, who's not here today, Commissioner Perez, who is, and Commissioner Hirata. And so I think you put this together for us. You want to go ahead and make some comments?
Cesar was going to do it today.
I think you put this together for
I
us.
put it together, but he was going to present it.
Yeah, please.
So basically, we sat down and we went through, what we need to do we put together a plan for our first year, for a second year, and then a 5 to 10 year vision with very high-level goals, I think, is what we tried to focus on. 501c3 is prominent in the first year, obviously, because that's what's on our radar. And I think we need to, I'll have some comments. We don't need to discuss it now, but I'll bring it up on the agenda as far as concerns around that. But I think we worked hard at trying to initially try to get consensus. One of the themes throughout this will be consensus among the groups, the arts groups in the community, and trying to make sure that we take everyone's input. And another theme that you'll see is to try to for our commission to become the hub of the arts in the Oxnard community, so that people know where to go, for information as well as so we can disseminate information out as well.
I really like what's down here. You're right. I mean, we need to discuss these and develop them more, flesh them out more. But I think this is excellent. Other comments, please? Yes, Commissioner.
2 questions. When you say first year, what are the dates of the beginning and end of that year?
Good question.
Well, it changed because of...
So can you tell me?
I would consider it 2016.
2016 is
Calendar
the
year.
first year, and the 2017. In that case, I just want to comment that I don't know if you know that George Sandoval and Chelsea Reynolds are working on a arts festival to be done this June, which is 16.
That's where this idea came from.
Yeah, would you consider moving that up to a first-year goal?
Yes. Yes. We didn't have a date from them when we met with them, when this was put together.
I got kind of pulled into the discussion, and actually I thought George was going to come today and talk about it, but he and Chelsea Reynolds are putting together something for the last weekend of June.
Right.
And the intent is to invite all art recipients and any other artists to come and participate in performance and exhibition and so forth at the PAC. And in fact, we should even consider giving them a little money to pull it off.
Yes, that's what I was going to ask, because we kind of knew she had that idea, but at that time it wasn't, she hadn't it wasn't so far as to be a real thing. It was
Well, I just happened to run into George today
well, yes,
as I was
yes,
walking
I know
my dog.
you've been following up on that. No, the question is, though, my question is, how is it going to be funded? Who's going to fund these different groups? Are they self-funding, or how is that going to
That's a
happen?
good question. No, There's no funding that I know
Well,
of.
they're hoping to seek patrons and sponsors
Yes, that's what
for this, and part of the pull is to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the city of Oxnard, so that may facilitate some donations of that sort. You wanted to make a comment also?
Yes, I attended one of the meetings as well, at least one of the meetings, and I know that Chelsea said she was going to develop a budget.
A budget has been developed.
Okay.
Oh, because when we spoke with her, one of the things she was speaking of is that these spaces, I mean, aren't free, right? They have to make, I mean, she's operating the PAC to make money,
Right.
so that will keep on going. And so the idea of having anything free or, free to the artists or something, it just seems it's not viable, that
Yeah.
you really need patrons or sponsorships or something. So I was just wondering if
Commissioner Gomez.
My question is for some odd reason, the thing that hit me was, how different is the Oxnard Art Festival going to be from the Multicultural Art Festival that's already taking place in the city? Or has that been considered to be consumed within one so that we're not competing, and they're already doing without the funding? They're already doing the event, so I mean, and I don't think that if we do something at the PAC, it's we have to pay for the use of the facility. As a organization of the city,
Right.
We shouldn't be paying for the city to give us the space for our artists to showcase. It gives the Multicultural Arts the Multicultural Arts Festival. It's been done at Plaza Park, and the last
Right.
year it was moved to the collection, and it draws a lot of people. So, and they do have a variety of activities, from vendors who are paying for the spots to artists who are coming in, and basically all of them are donating their time. Not to say that that should be the case, but
I'm sure they'll have that in mind too, to increase revenue, to have vendors and different things, food trucks or whatever, just to enhance the, because I can't imagine them giving everything for free, because I know that has been part of the problem of the PAC in the past, that they have not been getting sufficient revenue because they've given
I'll ask George Sandoval to come and speak with us for our next meeting, but a budget was developed, an expense budget was developed yesterday. Anyway, there's a difference. I think this Oxnard Arts Festival here is intended as an annual event, whereas the original inception through George Sandoval was a one-time event for the 100th anniversary of the city of Oxnard, and you're proposing an annual. That's great. Yes.
There's also a group that one of our past recipients of one of the grants, the 805 program that they've
That
had.
was a fun one, yes.
Yeah, and they've done it at the PAC,
Yeah.
so they brought in, professional individuals from the movie industry,
Yeah.
So I think we just need to look at how everyone could be partnered up together, creating things that are basically free.
Yeah.
Well, this is supposed to be free for the public, right?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
I think that's what I'm trying. I think that's the theme of what we came up with. Is look, there's a lot of organizations doing a lot in Oxnard, but nobody knows about them. There's no collective, right? There's no place where it's all being.
It's all happening at the same time.
Yeah, there's not a
People can
hub
come
where
and-
people can come to see everything that's happening, or at least not an organized one or a promoted one, right? So yeah, I agree with you. I think we all need to kind of come together and be one.
Well, maybe that's a suggestion that we should initiate that kind of solicitation of bringing in arts leaders and creating that type of thing. I know that with Chelsea, when she was talking, she's got a bunch of great ideas, but I think that what we need to do is exactly what you just said, and that is we need to bring together that brain trust of artists, from theater to visual art to music to dance, spoken word, etc. And I think that we need to bring in those leaders
Yes.
and do that. I know that we have one small organization trying to do that, but it's to a very select group of people. But I think we need to have something that's a lot more open to the
And
entire
broader,
community.
broader too, so different people will, people will see different things that they haven't experienced before and become interested in those things.
Yep.
And support.
Why don't we do this let's move on, because this deserves more time than we probably have available to us today. And it's awfully good. I'm really pleased with it. There's so much in here that is specific, like developing a web page, of having a historical walk, and these are really very good ideas, and we need to talk about them at greater length. So if you can pull these things off and bring them back at next month so that we have them available to us. And if you can put this under old business, please, Dan, so that it's early in our discussion and we're fresh. Okay?
Can I ask one more
Yes,
question?
sir.
Commissioner Cesar, have you considered also how to involve the educational community? Because there was years that in the past that AME, the Association of Mexican American Educators, collectively did programming on chalk art, and literally, we used the Plaza Park to set up, a wide range of artists came in, from the professional to the children drawing their monitos and stuff. But how we can involve our local schools as well as our colleges to be an integral part of the whole process as well.
But that's another part. I think if we do form a 501(c), part of it has to be dedicated to education, definitely, has to be.
Well, even if we're not 501(c)(3), I think we still should pursue it,
But there are things happening in the schools because of people who have gotten grants to do things in the school.
We're going on, and these are all worthy to be discussed in greater length than what we have here. So if there are no further comments, we will move on. But that was very good. We appreciate your work on that. And so Mr. Mullen has something else he would like to add concerning the military band. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Patrick Mullen with the Elite Theater as treasurer, and also the Oxnard Ambassadors. I was just going on your point H comments here, the cultural arts asking us to go to city council. I think that's a great idea because we need to thank them for the financial support that we all receive. But also I was going down to other that the Oxnard Ambassadors on March 3rd does a free concert at the PAC, which is, of course, the Arts for Music. And we normally get between 1,000 to 1,200 people there that are coming in to enjoy the military band.